The way you speak about English is very important. If you talk about yourself confidently, that's how you're going to behave. But if you always speak about yourself negatively, that will be reflected in your English as well. Today, let's talk about 7 things that you should never say when it comes to your English. Would you like to know what they are? If so, then let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is stop saying that you are not smart enough to speak English. I have a lot of students that before the conversation has even begun, they start by saying, I'm not good enough to speak English. And right there, you've already lost a big part of the battle. If you are listening to this and English is not your native language, you're probably doing much better than you think. Just think of it as there's probably some things that you don't know yet. So find out what you do know, and then you can always improve on the things that you don't know. Okay? So big change in your mindset can be a big change in how you speak English. So don't say it. You are smart enough. Okay, so the next thing that I want you to stop saying is that you do not know enough vocabulary. You might know a lot of vocabulary words, or you might know a little, but I guarantee you, you know more than you think. We just get comfortable speaking a certain way, and the vocabulary that you do know is probably just being used over and over again because you're comfortable with it. It's okay to use vocabulary and use words that you do know to describe something. For example, if there's some difficult words and you don't necessarily know the vocabulary for that word, use simple words that you do know to describe the thing, and that's also okay as well. So stop saying that you don't know enough vocabulary because you can always learn more vocabulary. So use the words you know and you'll be fine in an English conversation. The next thing that I want you to think about is stop saying that your pronunciation is bad. So I have a lot of students that lose confidence because they think that they have poor pronunciation. So maybe they'll say something. I'm understanding them just fine, but they correct themselves, or they tell me that's not right, or they just kind of go into it with a lack of confidence, and that kind of comes through in their conversation. The more that you think like this, the more nervous that you will get when it comes to speaking to a native English speaker. So just think about, even in the US where I'm from, there's so many different types of ways that people speak English, different accents, different nuances, that you really shouldn't be worried about just a small pronunciation mistake, because if you really want to, you could always correct pronunciation mistakes. So focus on your speaking, because I always think, and I always say to my students, the most important part of a conversation is, does the person that you are speaking to, can they understand you? And when they are saying something back to you, can you understand them? And if you have those two things, you have a good conversation. So don't focus on small pronunciation problems. There's always something that you can do to learn things that you don't know how to pronounce as well as you want to. Okay? Okay, next. Stop saying that English is too hard. So the way that you speak to yourself really matters. If you think that English is too hard for you, that's the way you're going to approach it, and it will become too hard for you. So don't say that it's too hard. Just think that there's things in English that you know, and there's probably some things in English that you don't know. And what you want to do is focus on the things that you know first, and you can always learn the things that you don't know. Just saying that English is too hard gives yourself almost an easy out, so that when there is something that is a little more difficult for you, it's kind of easy for you to say, see, I knew it. I can't do English because it's too hard for me. Try telling yourself that English isn't my first language. I will probably make mistakes, and I will probably do some things that are going to be correct. But the mistakes that I do make, those are going to be stepping stones for me to get better with my English in the future. And just that small change in the way that you think about English is going to be a big step for your mindset. So don't think of English as too hard, just think of it as like anything, there's some things that are harder than others for you to do in English, and go into English with confidence. Okay, this next thing that I want you to think about is stop saying that you don't have enough time to learn English. So I have 2 children, and maybe I've spoken about them before, but they always tell me about something that they don't have time for. I don't have time to clean those dishes. I don't have time to study the way that I want to. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. But they always have time when it comes to playing video games. They have time when it comes to watching TV or when it comes to meeting with their friends. And I think it's not that you don't have time, it's that we always make time for something that is important to us, and maybe English is not as important to you or as fun to you as you should be at this point. Even just a short time each day, if you have 15 to 20 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, just a short time each day is time enough for you to take something that you want to learn in English for that day and then study it. So how about maybe you can put something 15, 20 minutes or a 5 to 10 minute block on your calendar, and today I want to learn pronunciation. Today I want to focus on my listening. Today I'm gonna try speaking with somebody. Today maybe I'll try shadowing and just take that short 5, 10 minutes, 15 to 20 minute block each day, do something in English, because there's always time if you make the time for it. Okay, so the next thing you can think about is stop saying that you don't live in the US or any other English speaking country for that matter. So I have so many different students that I have taught. Some of them speak varying different levels of English, but just because you don't live in the US or any other foreign English speaking countries, that doesn't mean that you can't speak great English. I have so many students that have never set foot in the US, but they have English that sounds just as natural as myself or any other native speaker of English that I have come across, and it's just because they really enjoy it, they take the time, they prioritize it, and they decided whatever it takes, I'm gonna get better at speaking English because I really like to do this. I have one student that from a young age, she was just really interested in English, so she would just watch English TV shows on YouTube, and she sounds just like she's a native Californian like me. There would be no difference, and if you didn't know that she was born and raised in Japan, you probably wouldn't know that she wasn't a native speaker. So everyone does have the ability to do more things than you think that you can. So maybe one day you will end up being able to go to the US and speak with some other speakers of English or some other countries that are native English speaking countries as well. But for now, make do with what you have to improve your English the best way that you know how, and don't make not living in an English speaking country the only reason that you think that you cannot do well in English. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about today is stop saying that your English is just not good. Okay guys, so don't start a conversation telling someone about how you can't speak English very well. It's going to change the way you feel about your English confidence, and also for that person who's listening to you, it's going to change the way they listen to you, because if you don't think that you speak well, that's the way they're going to go into the conversation, and they might not pick up what you're saying because you don't have the confidence to make it come across to them. So maybe they won't pay attention to what you're saying in English because you're not setting them up to be thinking in that way. So for example, I do have a lot of students that I talk to. The conversations go fine. I'm understanding them just fine, but because of their lack of confidence, they end up stopping part way or apologizing or kind of trailing off at the end. And I just want to tell them that don't worry about it. Little mistakes are not going to affect the way I'm listening to you, because you're doing just fine with the way you are. And if there's something that is a mistake, you can always improve on it later. You don't need to make any apologies for making a mistake if the person that you're speaking to cannot understand what you're saying, you will know by the way that they respond. So have confidence, enjoy what you're doing, and correct your mistakes later if you do make any. Okay guys, I hope these 7 tips really help you out. If they did, how about leave a like down below and also share this video with someone that you think it will benefit. Also, if you're interested in more ways to improve your English learning, how about check out this video right here. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. See you.